So the light was pleasing and good to God. He supported it. He kept it in place. And he sustained it. He meant it to last until he says, stop. In verse 12, and the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that was good. It was also pleasing and useful. And God supported it and has it continue even to this day. In verse 17, and God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good, was pleasing and useful, and he affirms and sustains it. 31, verse 31. And God saw everything that he made, and behold, it was very good, pleasing and useful, and he validated it. The very good gave extra effort. He validated it. It means that make officially acceptable or approved. God looked at the whole creation when it was through. This is good. This is very good. I, as the Creator, find it acceptable and approved. I like it just like I made it. It's just what I had in mind. And we look at this creation and wonder at the imagination of God. I think he had a ball when he was created, this earth. One song says he could have made it black and white, and we would never know. But we can't fathom the range of color that God has put into just the grass, just the leaves, how he created all the different fruits and vegetables and animals. How God's mind, how his imagination, and then when he created man, as delicate and as intricate, and he just was making a mud man. But when he spoke life into this, it became something that was the highlight of his creation. And he made man just for man to be his friend. He placed him in a garden and he said, take care of this garden and be my friend. I'm going to come and visit you. I'm going to walk with you. I want to come and see how you're doing. Do you like this? What did you think about the pomegranates? God just wanted somebody to say, you did it good. I think you're wonderful. God created man to be his friend. But he also gave man a choice. And unfortunately, because God made man human, humans don't always make the right choices. Not everything that God created matures at the same time. Did you ever think about that? Animals are born alive, and some animals, like I just went blank. Horses and cows, in a very short time after they're born, they're on their feet standing, and they're wiggling their little tails, and they're looking for mama's milk, and they can walk, and they can squeal, and if in attack, they're designed so they can run with their mom and get away. Kittens and puppies, on the other hand, when they're born, if I remember right, their eyes are still closed. They can mew. They can kind of move a little bit. They can hunt for their mom. But they have to be a little older before their eyes come open and before they can see and before they can know what they're doing. All the different animals mature at a different rate. They're not all the same. Kangaroos, they live in the mama's pouch 6 to 8 months before they even start to get out of the pouch. And some stay for like 11 months in the pouch before they get out and exist on their own. To me, that would be an awful tiring mama. But that's the way God created it. The imagination from a kitten to a kangaroo and birds.
That's why they don't have multiple births.
Thank the Lord. Some kangaroos do have 3 uteruses, though.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know where that comes from. But birds, all the birds come from an egg. But all the birds aren't the same. Ducks and chickens, in just a short while, are fluffy and walking and pecking at their food. Some birds are in a nest, and they're like naked and bald, and their eyes aren't open. The weaker ones at birth mature progressively, and they grow stronger, and they gain ability. And in their time, they can walk and become productive. But some are very needy. Is one thing that God created less than because the kitten is blind, where the horse can see and move? Is it a lesser creation? In God's eyes, they're just His creation. And He just had fun. And then it gives us pleasure to watch and be in awe of what God has done. Are they less because they don't mature at the same time? Because they're helpless? No. God created that way for a reason. And the trees and the plants, there's different sizes, there's different shapes, there's different tastes. They even mature differently. From a seed, some sprout in just a few days, and others take a long time. Some give fruit, grow up as a seed and a plant, and they have fruit, and they die, all in a matter of months. We have a couple avocado trees that have been growing for, I think, 5 or 6 years, and all it's produced is leaves. We're still waiting. Is the cucumber that grows quickly in Elmer's garden looked down upon by God? Or is it praised more than the avocado that's sitting there just taking up space in the bucket? God sees them all alike. They're His creation. He allows them to do what they were designed to do. There's so many different ways that God made these plants. Some need a little water, some need a bunch. Some need light, some do better in the shade. God did things so miraculously. And he called all of them good. They were pleasing and useful to the Lord. And babies, people babies, human babies. Babies can see and cry and hear at birth. Healthy babies we're talking about. But that's about all they can do. And a healthy baby, if it's left to itself without any care, will die. Even though it was a healthy, normal baby at birth, it needs care. And it needs constant care because that's the way it was designed. We can't expect a newborn to act like a 3-year-old. We never do. We accept them where they are, as they are, and we glory in that. Oh, my little baby is so cute. Look what my toddler did today. Each part is just amazing to us. And we think, wow, look what God has done. And even in the same family, we have 5. They all are different. They have different likes and dislikes. They have different opinions. They look different. The boys don't look exactly the same, and the girls don't look exactly the same. They have different health issues. They're just all different, coming from the same pod with the same parents. And none of them are exactly like me or Elmer. They are their own. And we glory in that. Elmer and his brother Ralph were in the same beginning Spanish class. And within weeks or less, Ralph was speaking Spanish fluently. He just absorbed and picked it up. Elmer went through the whole class and could hardly say a few words of Spanish. And certainly couldn't communicate with someone. Different traits, different strengths, different weaknesses. Because Elmer couldn't do it, is he less than Ralph who could? No. No, they just are different. As parents, we encourage the strengths of our children and we help with their weaknesses. We don't put one above another or grade them or, well, that's that one and this was my princess. No, we don't do that. We do our best to take care of all their needs and all their situations. All the creation that God made progresses from a newborn to an adult as according to God's plan. They mature at a different rate, they learn at a different rate, and each one progresses according to their own species. God created it that way. And even though ducks and geese and peacocks and hummingbirds and eagles all come from an egg, they're completely different after they come out. They have different needs. They have different personalities. It's amazing. It's amazing. So we can agree that God knew what he was doing during creation. And creation gives us just a little glimpse of his miraculous imagination. And we accept God's creation for what it is. I've never sat back and thought, he should have done this different. Or I may have thought, why did he make that one like that? Mosquitoes, and roaches. You know, there's few things I would not have created if it had been my job to create. But God did it. For whatever reason, we need a mosquito and a roach. We'll just let God handle that. If we want plants in our house or our yard, we accept the plant has certain needs. We have to water it. We have to fertilize it. We have to take care of it. If we're going to have it do what the plant is supposed to do, we have to accept this plant is going to need this kind of care, and this plant is going to take another kind of care, and we don't judge this plant's better, maybe easier to care for, but is it better? I personally may like one better than another, but we accept the way God created them for what they are, and we fulfill their needs. If we're going to have a pet, we are going to have to realize they need food, and they need water, and they need a toilet area, and they need shelter, and they need a vet bill. And so don't get a pet if you're not willing to do what they need. You have a choice. We choose not to have a dog because A, neither one of us want to have to walk a dog. And B, we don't have a fenced area where we can just throw it outside and let it do its thing. So we choose not to take on that responsibility because we don't want that responsibility. We're maybe a little selfish and maybe a little lazy. Your animals, you just do what you want. This is us. I would like to have a cat, but Brother Elmer does not want a cat. And I have had a cat in the past, and you know what? Sometimes it's just not worth it. But also, not having an animal in our home makes our home a pet-free home. So sometimes a visitor that needs a place to stay needs a pet-free environment. So we kind of keep that in mind. How can we use what we have for God? And so that's another reason that we don't have pets. He has chickens, but they stay way back. So where am I going with all this? Saints, we mature at different levels, different times and different seasons. Look at the one next to you. They understand things differently than you do. And maybe they understand things better than you do. But God doesn't say, He doesn't judge and say, you're not quite as good as you are. These are my children. God says, these are my children. If I can borrow from Brother Brandon's thought in Matthew 18, 1 through 3, we all start our Christian life as little children. We don't start our Christian life full grown. We don't start as mature Christians. We start out as little children. Matthew 18 and 1. At the same time came the disciples unto Jesus, saying, who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus called a little child unto him, and set him in the midst of them, and said, verily I say unto you, except ye be converted and become as little children, you shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Except we become as little children. Little children need guidance. They need nourishment. They need acceptance. They need love. They need consistency. Little Christians need all those things too. In Ephesians 4, let's turn there. Ephesians 4, verse 7. But unto every one of us is given grace according to the measure of the gift of Christ. We're given grace according to what we need. And it's in abundance. And let's drop down to verse 11. And he gave some apostles and some prophets and some evangelists and some pastors and teachers for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ, till we all come in the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, unto a perfect man, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. So those verse 12 and 13 tells me that when we become as little children, we don't know everything yet. We need perfecting. We need edifying. We need unity. We need knowledge, so that we can grow up into the fullness of Christ. Acts 22. There's a progression in our serving God. There's a progression in our understanding God's will. This is the way God created us to. We didn't learn it the first time we came to church after we got saved. We didn't know everything then. We knew just that we were saved. We might have had a little more exposure to the Bible before we got saved, but if we had never been in church and had been in a few services and God convicted and we got saved, our amount of knowledge of God is very, very small. It takes progression, it takes maturity, it takes time to become a mature Christian. Just as our children matured at a different rate, just as animals mature at a different rate, just as flowers and seeds mature at a different rate, that is God's plan. That's the way He designed His creation, was to progressively come to a place that He can say, this is very good. And none of us are going to do it at the same rate, because we're all coming from different backgrounds. Acts 22, let's start at verse 14. Ananias is speaking to Saul when Saul went to Ananias after Christ had spoken to him on the way to Damascus, I think. And he said, the God of our fathers hath chosen thee, that thou shouldest know his will, and see that just one, and shouldest hear the voice of his mouth. For thou shalt be his witness unto all men of what thou hast seen and heard. So Saul was going to have to see some things and learn some things and acquire some wisdom before he could be a witness of what God had for the people, before Paul could mature so that he could help the people, so Paul could learn. And what does it say? He went 3 years studying. The Amplified in verse 14 The God of our fathers has appointed you to know his will. The God of our fathers has chosen you. He's appointed you, Paul. And to progressively understand his plan with clarity and power. That word progressively, and it's the Amplified uses it in 3 or 4 different scriptures. Progressively learning. That's part of God's plan. We're not going to get it all at once. We're not going to be able to absorb everything at once. God deals with us as little children. He lets us try something. We fall on our face. He picks us up. He helps us a little bit farther. We make another wrong decision. He corrects us. He guides us. We mature. We don't make the same wrong decision over and over because we progressively learn what God's will is for us. In Romans, where it says, be not conformed to the world, that's another place where it uses the term progressively. And for time, I'll just read part of the Amplified of Romans 12:2. And do not be conformed to this world any longer with its superficial values and customs, but be transformed and progressively changed as you mature spiritually. By the renewing of your mind, focusing on godly values and ethical attitudes, so that you may prove for yourself what the will of God is, that which is good and acceptable and perfect in his plan and purpose for you. Progressive means moving forward, developing gradually. God doesn't expect us to know it all at once. He does expect us to progress in our learning and progress in our service. Many of us have sat in this congregation for years and heard the same scriptures read and the same lesson taught. But I'll tell you a secret, we didn't all listen the same. Children need to be taught how to listen. We've had to teach our children how to listen, how to pay attention, how to be aware of what's going on around them. And as we have come into, I'm going to say this building because it's still happening, and we hear something, and we may feel, well, this is good, and we're doing our best to listen, but the enemy is doing his best to distract. A child may throw a fit in the corner. Somebody in front of us may start coughing. We get distracted. It's human. It's not a fault. When we had our little children, some of us had 2 or 3 all lined up on a bench. And church was more of trying to keep the children quiet than it was trying to listen to what was said. So sometimes, I know when I left the building, if you had asked me, what did the brother preach about this morning? Didn't you get that good thought? And I'd just look at him, no, I didn't get it. But my kid sat. And so even though we are all in the same building, hearing the same words, we're not all absorbing the same things because we are all different in our levels of understanding. Like I said earlier, if you were raised up in church, you learned the language, you learned the these and the thous, and you knew where to find something in a Bible, and you knew the little Bible stories. And so when a preacher would say, turn to here, you were right there. And when he talked about David, oh, you knew all about David, so you could put the pieces together. You could follow easier than someone who had never heard of David. David's a brand new person. He did what? But you just accept whatever you're told, and then you add to your layer of understanding. But a person who's never been in church, the first time they hear about David. I know one young couple years ago, they hadn't been in church. They hadn't gone to Sunday school. They didn't know the stories. They got an Eggermeyer storybook. And they read the Bible stories at home so that they would have some kind of background to when the preacher alluded to David or Moses or Jonah. They already had some idea of what it was all about. But can you imagine the wonder, the confusion sometimes that a person who has never heard those names and has never tried to find something in the Bible, and they finally find Romans, and he's already on to Corinthians. We're not hearing, we're not listening, we're not absorbing at the same rate. So even if our brother or our sister has sat by you for years, they're not going to have the same knowledge that you might have. Or you may not have the same knowledge that they have. If you're a good reader, sometimes you understand better because you like words and you do that. Sometimes some preachers, some teachers are more eloquent in their teaching, and they're easier to understand just by their way they teach. Other teachers go all the way around the block before they get to their thought, and then it's kind of muddly. But we can still learn. We can still learn. So my thought is, what I want you to think about, do we have long suffering and grace and mercy for the person sitting beside us? When they don't understand maybe what we understand? Do we have long suffering with them? In John 15:9, verse 9, as the Father hath loved me, so have I loved you. Continue in my love. Christ is saying, my Father loved me, I love you, you stay in my love. Keep my commandments, and ye shall abide in my love, even as I kept my Father's commandment and abide in his love. These things have I spoken unto you, that my joy might remain in you, and your joy might be full. And this is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. And as I read verse 13, I thought, greater love hath no man than this, that I lay down my thoughts, my opinions, my requirements, and just give love, just extend long suffering, just bear with the other for the betterment of the body and for the glory of Christ. We have to lay down some of our stuff and accept our brother and sister right where they are. A new one that comes in, accept them right where they are. If they say, I love Jesus, I don't know what's in their heart. I can just trust they're telling the truth. And I can just encourage and strengthen and uplift that love, because God will guide them. He will. And He doesn't need us to do it. He will guide them into all truth. Just one last little thought. Peter had a problem with forgiveness. And you know, sometimes, all the time, we need forgiveness to forgive somebody else for not knowing what we know. That sounds crazy, but we have to have forgiveness to accept them right where they are. But you sat by me for years. How come? Not our business. Not my servant. God's servant. He's telling them, and He's guiding them, and we need to stay in our place. And sometimes it takes forgiveness. And so Peter said, he must have been having problems with forgiveness, because he came to Jesus, and this is in Matthew 18. How often should I forgive? Should I forgive 7 times when they do the same thing over and over and over? And what did Jesus say? I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. Peter must have been blown away. But I looked up a little bit what that 70 times 7 may have meant. 7 represents completeness of perfection in the Bible. Just 7. 7. 7 days, 7 lights, 7 is all through the Bible. It's a completed work. 70 also represents completeness and fullness. That the basics is just enlarged and made beautiful. 70 times 7. The multiplication of 2 perfect numbers signify a complete and perfect level of forgiveness, an infinite amount. Forgiveness that goes on and on and on and on, just like God's forgiveness goes on and on and on toward me. None of us just got to the altar and say, forgive me, Lord, and that's the last time you ever had to say, forgive me, Lord. We've all had to come back. We've all had to go to another, forgive me, God, forgive me. I blew it again. And He forgave with that perfect forgiveness. Jesus' answer was not that there was a set amount, but forgiveness should not be rationed or counted. Like, I forgave you 4 times already. No. It's a continuous, ongoing attitude of forgiveness. It's a lifestyle. And it's an example to forgive others in a way that reflects the complete and abundant forgiveness that we receive from God. This is my message unto you that you've heard from the beginning, that we should love one another. My little children, let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth and forgiveness. Thank you.